Hello there. So I just got done watching If, Imaginary Friends, written and directed by John Krasinski, starring Ryan Reynolds and Kaylee Fleming, Steve Carell, Emily Blunt, Aquafina, and a whole bunch of other actors and actresses that have a little cameo in here.
So does this make us partners?
Let's not get ahead of ourselves, shall we? Keith!
And if you haven't guessed it by now or seen the trailers, it's about Ryan Reynolds' character and Kaylee Fleming's character trying to reconnect kids with their forgotten IFs, or imaginary friends. IFs. That's as simple as it gets. And overall, I found the story somewhat touching. I don't know. I mean, I thought certain parts of this movie was kind of fun, kind of interesting, kind of cool. But overall, I just wasn't all that sucked into what was happening, and I felt that the characters weren't all that interesting to me. There are some great running jokes throughout the entire movie, and the imaginary friends are a lot of fun. It reminds me a lot of Amazing World of Gumball. And if you've seen Amazing World of Gumball, you know exactly what I'm talking about, albeit not that crazy. Similar vibe though when it comes to the imaginary friends that kids come up with, although in real life, I'm pretty sure they're even more freakier. But like I was talking about with the characters, I felt that Kaylee's characters, her arc happened so soon into the movie that when they're trying to really hit home with it at the very end, it doesn't hit. It doesn't land. Because it already landed like somewhere between the first or early second act. Anyone who's seen enough of these kind of movies knows exactly what this is. This is a coming of age kind of story. It's about a kid who doesn't want to be a kid anymore, who just wants to be an adult. And we were all there once before, you know, I'm 23, I used to think like that when I was like 12, 13, right? You know, at the start of the movie, Kaylee goes from being like, I'm not a kid anymore, to all of a sudden, somewhere near like the early second, she's like, I am actually still a kid. And then she starts dancing and bopping like we see in the trailer. And I'm just sort of like, what? Where is this movie trying to go? What's the overarching theme here? You know, what is it trying to do? And then by the third act, that's sort of just what happens. It just kind of completes the arc that we already saw get completed. Again, not to say that it sucks or it's bad or it's not interesting or it's not fun to see and watch. It's just been delivered so much better in so many other different movies. This movie is like The Sixth Sense, but not about dead people, and it's not sad, but it's more of a happy, heartfelt, family-friendly kind of movie about a kid who can see imaginary things. I guess in this case, they're not exactly imaginary, and in Sixth Sense, they aren't imaginary. They're actually real people that died, but we're gonna talk about imaginary friends in this movie. Ryan Reynolds is basically Bruce Willis's character, and his entire job literally is to help Kaylee Fleming's character figure out how to help all these imaginary friends. Everyone here gives a great performance, especially from Kaylee Fleming when we get to really see more from her by the third act. There's a great message here about how it's not just about wanting to stay a kid, but it's also about how adults maybe can find solace in their childhood. As great as the theme is, I just felt that this movie overall missed the mark. Not to say that it's not fun or interesting. John Krasinski is also in this movie and plays Kaylee's dad. And John is great, you know, he's great in everything. To see him go from doing A Quiet Place to something lighthearted and fun like this, you can tell he's loving it, and this is a movie definitely dedicated to his kids. You know, it's a love letter to kids and parents and people in general about how we should maybe sometimes revisit our imaginary friends from our childhood. You know, this movie probably could have been even a lot more fun if they just added a whole bunch of different ifs. And by the third act, we see everyone, or at least a whole lot of people with their ifs. I don't know. I think overall this movie was fine. It was okay. It was enjoyable at certain moments, getting little cameos from actors that we all know and love. I feel like there's a whole lot more fun to be had with the ifs, and if Kaylee's character is a bit more consistent, especially with her arc, I probably would have been a whole lot more invested here. At some point, I thought Ryan Reynolds was gonna be the main character because of his sort of like arc that he was gonna have, but it kind of goes nowhere at the end of the movie because of a certain, I guess you could say, twist. Would I watch this movie again? I don't know. Probably not. I can see families and their kids probably wanting to watch it one or two more times, but to be honest, there wasn't even all that much there. There were kids in my theater, and I didn't hear a peep out of them. So, I don't know what that tells you. But like I said, mad respect for John Krasinski trying to do something far more different, on the opposite end of the spectrum from A Quiet Place. I understand and see what he's trying to do with this movie. It's a love letter to its kids, like I said, to all kinds of parents and kids out there in the world who most definitely probably had an if. Alright, that's enough of me. Thanks for watching.